Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Data4Food2030 podcast. In today's episode, we're very happy to host Mireille van Hilten, coordinator of the Data4Food2030 project, and together we will discuss everything about the project, its main concept, and its key achievements so far. So Mireille, welcome to our podcast and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. It's fun to record a podcast.
So let's see. To start, can you briefly introduce yourself and your role as the coordinator of the Data4Food2030 project?
Yes, I can. I'm Mireille van Hilten. I'm working actually in a department of Wageningen University and Research, and we do social economic research. And that's my role, right? I'm a senior researcher now on the topic of digitalization in agri-food and coordinating this Data4Food project on a day-to-day basis, which means we have many partners, organizations working together on the research in this project, which I'll tell more about. And it's really fun to do because the project will have nice results. So, yeah.
It's a very unique project, this one. So, yes.
Yeah, I think so. We've done other projects before in which the focus lied more on the innovations themselves. So innovations in agri-food that could lead to, less pesticides or a more conscious water usage on fields, etc. But this project is really about how data is exchanged and the value of data. And it's a research project. So we're not necessarily developing tools as the main outcome. We really want to make sure that we understand what the value of data is or should be, and how mainly policymakers can take actions towards the future.
And for those that are new to the project, how would you describe its core mission in simple terms for everyone?
Yeah, well, we have about 4 different objectives, but the main objective is to understand what the data economy is. That's the term we use for this value of data, and to make sure that we can understand how to improve it. So there are some issues when data is shared in agri-food, in value chain, from farmers all the way up to consumers. We would like to have better insights into what's happening in our food production. And the way that that data is being exchanged creates value. Because what one person wants to know about food that is produced somewhere on the field is of value. And who gets that value? And our core mission then is to understand how that works, the data economy, what it is, but also how to improve it, how to make it better.
Great, thank you very much for this very well outlined introduction. And now let's move on to something deeper. Why is data becoming such a critical factor into how we produce, consume, and distribute food?
Well, on the one hand, more and more data is becoming available. So we can also use satellite data, data from machinery, data entered by people like farmers, weather conditions, and you can all combine that now and use digital tools, artificial intelligence, for clever insights. So we may know more than we did before because we have more data and because we can also use AI to get more insights from that. On the other hand, we also see that we don't have access to the data. So an example could be that we have data from a field available, but where does this data sit? Is it the farmer that can provide access to the data, or is it maybe the tractor manufacturer that has that data? And can you share that? Is it open, or is it sensitive data from one company? Those types of issues make that we cannot always access the data that we would like to use for insights. And the insights will then help to produce more sustainable food. And maybe I could stop there.
Thank you very much. And can you share an example probably of a case study that shows how data can improve the way we produce or consume food?
Yes, well, we have 9 cases that we study, and they are working on data sharing, improving the data sharing often they need to put a lot of contracts in place to make sure that it's very clear how this data is used. I think the nicest example or the most nice to understand is the one in Mallorca, where we have vineyards where they produce wine, and we have almonds that are produced. And the cooperatives and the farmers that produce those grapes and the almonds, they have a lot of data there. And in Mallorca, they've now signed 6 different contracts on how to share that data. And also make sure that we can connect it to the tourists, because Mallorca is all about tourism, right? So a lot of tourists go there and they want to know more about the locally produced food. And by doing that, increasingly producers are sharing their data, and we also see that can be used for other purposes. So you can also monitor what's going on the island, and also perhaps identify any issues or improvements that are necessary for the policy side.
Now the project has run for 3 years and even more, and we're entering the final phase of the project. So is there any achievement or any highlight that you're most proud of and you could share with us?
Oh, it's hard to pick. I really appreciate the results we have so far. Just maybe chronologically, the first thing we did is try to understand what is the data economy. People don't know what we mean by that term. Since we are a research project, we went into literature and we know what it is, but it's hard to explain it. So that's why we try to use these examples in the podcast, right? But we have defined what it is. We're trying to communicate about that. And then another nice example of a result is that we have put all different types of stakeholders together at a table. So farmers, policymakers, companies, researchers, and more. We try to project what should it look like when this data is being shared throughout the value chains. And we've developed 3 different scenarios. So one scenario, for example, is very strictly regulated, and it could lead to advantages such as having a lot of data, but it could also lead to too much control over organizations or even individuals that you have to share data. So those types of scenarios were also delivered, which provides a very clear, literally a picture. We have 3 pictures, and it's easier to talk about the data economy like that.
Yes, definitely. And also the project has developed the Data4Food2030 Monitor.
Of course, that would be the next one I would want to describe. The monitor is our, you can call it a dashboard or a website. Not just what the data economy is, it can be found there, but also numbers. So a lot of data on what does the economy do at the moment, how is it progressing. You can think about how many data sharing initiatives are there, how many jobs in digital technology and agri-food are there that could indicate something about the growth of the data economy. And also more qualitative information, for example, what's happening on the legal side. There was a lot of new legislation like the AI Act and the Data Act and the Data Governance Act. So we can find a lot of different perspectives on the data economy on the monitor. And it's meant for not just policymakers, although it's a main group, but it's also meant for different types of stakeholders that want to know more and need to know more about the data economy in food systems.
Great, so it acts like a one-stop shop for data, like data sharing or statistics regarding data, and everyone can register their own data initiative.
Yes, they can also do that. Correct, a one-stop shop.
Great, thank you very, very much. So the project has achieved a lot throughout these 3 years, and there are many more to come.
Yes, we have some work to do ahead of us.
And one question regarding that. How do you see the project contributing to the transition and the overall future of the European agri-food systems?
I hope we can contribute a lot. we really aim to do a lot of work on the monitor from now to the end of the project. So it's hard to say, but I think it only makes sense to use data and digitalization in general if it really adds value and if it really makes sense to use it, either for a farmer to use it on their fields or in the food processing afterwards throughout the value chain. If it adds value, then we should use it. And I hope our project can contribute by unpacking what value is in data and who is interested in the value of data. I think that would already help a lot, just defining and making sure that people understand what's happening, because we don't really see the data economy. It's something hidden behind everything we do. But as soon as you pick up a product in the supermarket and it has a barcode or whatever, you may be able to understand more about what happened with that food product as a consumer. And it would be great if we can contribute to that entire process, even if it's at a small scale in the beginning and maybe scaling that up later.
And what lasting impact do you foresee for Data for Food in the European food systems? I mean, how do you see it contributing in the overall future?
First of all, it's not about the project really, it's about what's happening at the level of the cases in all the communities and the networks that we are working with. Long lasting would mean that it becomes more visible what's happening in the data economy. So who are the players? Who's making the most money out of this data economy? Are farmers getting increasingly value back to them with data that they're sharing? And that's hard to pinpoint because the data is not always available yet, but we hope to make it more insightful. And I think that value can last for a long time after the project, that we have the vocabulary to talk about it and that we have some numbers and information about how that's progressing.
Great, thank you very, very much. And finally, one last question before we finish our discussion for today. What message would you like to give to listeners about the role of data in building a healthier and more sustainable food future?
Yeah, I think my message would be, of course, that it's all about sustainable food, less waste, healthier food, and all the aspects that are known already around that. But the message that would be more important now is that I hopefully after the podcast now people know that there are many people involved in the processing of food, many organizations, and that data is being shared in each step. And that as a consumer, I think you'll have more and more power and impact on the choices of the food that you can make, because there will be more data and better data available. And that the people involved, it's important that it's inclusive. So what I didn't say yet is that the data economy should be fair and it should be inclusive. So we shouldn't leave anybody out. And if people and organizations want to share data, they should be able to do so. And that's my main message. The inclusivity and the fairness of the data economy is important.
And let's close with that. Thank you very, very much for sharing all this very interesting information today and for giving us a very nice overview of what Data for Food 2030 is all about.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as for you, dear viewers and listeners, thank you very much for watching this episode. And don't forget to stay tuned for all the next episodes.